Welcome back to the Bear Down Abroad podcast for me, Ant, in sunny Gothenburg. It's been sunshine for 3 days. My little bald head is getting lovely and red. And here we are ready tonight to talk some more Bears football. And who better than we have one of my favorite Chicago Bears people. When I went to Chicago all those years ago, this poor man drove to meet me and show me the sights and sounds of pizzeria. I got to eat proper pizza with him. Brendan Sugrue is going to join us tonight. So, do you know what? I'll get stuck into it. See exactly how the Bears can improve. Might be Bears football, there might be World Cup soccer going on, but we're still here to talk Bears football. So, you don't want to be listening to me, you want to hear Brendan. So, Tony, hit it.
Welcome back to the Bear Down Abroad podcast. Hold on. Who have we got here, Ant? What's happening? What is this dog doing on the screen?
So this is Cookie. She's much more knowledgeable information than anything else in the world than my good self. So I said she'd join us to say hello for a couple of quick seconds. How are you, Tony? More importantly, how are you, Brendan? Can Brendan not hear me? Are we going back into this again?
Oh, sorry, I didn't hear. I didn't think you. Oh man, we're doing a false start already. I didn't think you were. I didn't hear it was to me. My
penalty flag throwing.
Thank God. This last week I was hosting, Brendan, right? And we had four of our great world fans came on and joined us, and one of them couldn't hear me. And of course, the first person I go and ask the question was him. And I could just see the screen. He's nodding back to me. I was like, oh no, thought it was happening again. How are you, Brendan?
I'm doing good, fellas. It's great to talk to you again. It's great to see you. I've said you guys are two of my favorite Bears podcasters. We go way back, many, many years. I know, Ant, you said, the time we met way back, it was almost 4 years ago when you guys came in for one of the worst Bears games that we've ever seen. Bears Commanders, that Thursday night game where nobody wanted to score a touchdown. But Ant and I were able to meet out in Evanston, get some Lou Malnati's, connect, have some fun. Travis Kelce, this is how much I remember that day, man. Travis Kelce was going bonkers for the Chiefs against the Raiders on Monday Night Football. Just a fantastic day. Great. I still think of it fondly. So it's awesome to talk to you guys. So I hope you guys are doing well.
And I must admit, before Tony gets in there, that game for me was one of the worst games ever. We were at the very, very top. One of your good friends, Mr. Dangle, was with us as well. We're at the very, very top of the stadium. One of the worst games ever, but still one of my best days. It was absolutely brilliant. I would recommend anybody, if anyone wants to go, is in the Bears area, can get themselves a ticket, get yourself to a Bears game. It is something unique.
Yeah, it was a phenomenal day. Actually, a phenomenal week when they were there, but the game was horrendous. It was freezing. And I'm from Scotland. It gets cold here, man, right? But that was cold. That was proper cold. So next time we're going to a game in September. We're not waiting until October or November or whenever it was we were there. Definitely needs to be like first game of the season or something like that. But anyway, I digress. Brendan, it's nice to see you, man. Thanks for coming on for a chat. We all know it's a bit of a slow time at the moment for the old Bears news. Not really much going on out there, but we will try to have a conversation today and break down as much as we can. And we'll start off with, you've just had a new article that you put up on Bears Wire, outlining your top 10 takeaways from the Bears offseason. So guys, definitely check that out. I'll stick a wee link in here later on as well. But Brendan, just on that, not getting you to rhyme off your top 10 takeaways, of course, but if you were to pick maybe two or three of the takeaways from that article where you've maybe highlighted, what ones do you think had the biggest sort of impact on the Bears offseason this year?
Well, I'd say the first one that I did just sticks out immediately to me, and that's the Bears proved this offseason that this is not a Super Bowl or bust season coming up. They could have mortgaged so much of their future, gone into extreme cap hell to acquire some of these big superstars to really fortify that team for the next year or so. But, with the caveat knowing that, hey, things are going to look a lot different, and who knows what's going to happen in a couple years when you're sitting at hundreds of millions of dollars in dead cap and having to shed salary and once you pay Caleb Williams and potentially Colston Loveland, Luther Burden, all of that. So just with the moves that they made this offseason, again, couple splash signings. I love the Kobe Bryant signing. I really like the draft picks with Logan Jones and Dylan Thieneman, but just the fact that they did not go balls to the wall, so to speak, and go after some of those big fish just tells me they're trying to sustain success for a long time. And maybe not, they're going to be contenders, but maybe they're just a tier below of like those true Super Bowl contenders going into 2026. So that's one of them. The other one, I would say off the top of my head, well, I'll just do a quick one. I really think this is Cole Kmet's last season, just with the drafting of Sam Roush. Now, when the Bears picked Loveland last year, a lot of people were like, oh, this spells the end of Cole Kmet. He's going to be a trade candidate. I'm like, nah, not so fast. Like, these guys complement one another. You can see how Loveland is going to line up on the outside. Kmet's going to be an inline guy. There's ways that both of them can work together. So I'm like, I think he's going to be around for a little bit. But with the Sam Roush drafting, with how good he is as an inline tight end, how young he is, how big he is, that to me, that there's your 1-2 punch of the future with Loveland and Roush. And with how they reorganized and restructured Cole Kmet's contract, he's going to be making $15 million, I believe, next year. And the Bears can save $10 million when they release him. So it just feels like they're kind of doing what they did with DJ Moore, where you see the writing on the wall. He's a great locker room presence, very good player, but they just have an abundance of tight ends. And as much as Ben Johnson likes 13 personnel, I don't think he's going to go crazy with that into 2027 with a veteran like Kmet. And last thing I'll say, I know you guys have talked about it before, but it is really it's tough that such an offseason of hope and promise and like the on-field product is as good as ever, that the entire conversation has just been driven by a flippin' stadium that nobody knows where it's going to be. Everybody's tired of it. Everybody has their sources, their political sources, and they're doing this and they're not doing that. The point is, I don't think anybody really knows anything. And it just sucks that so much of the conversation has been focused on that instead of that the Bears have such a quality roster. They have such a good quarterback. The head coach is in place. There's so much good that's happening with the Bears. We shouldn't let a stadium situation that really doesn't impact many of us, like, so many people around the world, the Bears are going to play football somewhere. We should be focusing on the quality of the field and not on the stadium.
I'm going to go with the first one because once I start talking about the stadium, Tony's going to have to hit the rant button pretty soon. So I don't want to do that too early. What I would say on it is, for me, the one that stands out the most is that, God, imagine we had Ryan Pace as our GM, right? Yeah. Because he would have gotten his balls out as you're possibly going to get, and he'd have made mistake after mistake after mistake, and we'd have been throwing first round picks, and we'd have been throwing second round picks, and we'd have been throwing everything at whatever. I find it hilarious. I think Ryan Poles on this show, as much as anywhere else, gets criticism. I would criticize him for some of the moves. I would criticize him for some trying to be too cute, as we would say. But you got to credit him for what has happened in the last 12, 14 months. I think he's done more good than bad in decision makings that he's made. And I think that's the most interesting one. There's one other one as well around. You were mentioning about the tight ends, and I want to kind of throw Tony, and might throw this to you as well, because there's another tight end that they have as well. I'm trying to remember his name. Oh, Hayden Large, who's a undrafted free agent, and they really seem to like him as well. So I'm with you, Brendan. I think next year could be the last year for Cole Kmet. I think it could be the last year for Kyler Gordon. In fact, I'd be very confident it's the last year of Kyler Gordon. I think there's a couple of others like Grady. So there's a lot of turnover that's probably going to happen in 12 months' time as well. What's your take, Tony, on the Cole Kmet scenario?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's inevitable that you always have to have a succession plan in place for these things. And I think, Colston Loveland's come in, and even in his first season, it's clearly established himself as the go-to tight end in terms of being that elite receiver. As well as being a blocker, as well as a slightly different type of tight end to the one that Cole Kmet is. Cole Kmet absolutely still has a part to play in this offense, a very integral part. However, the reality is that Cole is going to want to get paid, and the Bears are going to have to think about, well, where can I allocate money? And if they've got they've got Colson Loveland in the first round, he's still in his rookie deal, fair enough. But you're going to have to pay him eventually. The likelihood is if he steps up again this season, it negates the need for them to have Cole Kmet there as well. And then you can look at the guys that they brought in this year and think, well, hopefully they can have that same sort of impact. The first year they're here, they can sit behind Kmet and they can sit behind Loveland and learn a little bit and then make that step forward in year two. And inevitably they'll probably look to add to that position as well next off season. So I think same as what you were saying there, Brendan, I think the writing's sort of on the wall for Kmet. And it's not to say that he's a bad player or that he should go, but that's just the mathematics part of it. It doesn't add up to have both of them on the team. It's just not going to work out that way, and it's a shame because he's been a great servant to the team as well.
Yeah, think about it's really similar to the DJ Moore situation. I really don't think the Bears were wanting to deal DJ Moore. He did a lot of great things for them. Cole Kmet is a big leader and everything, but going back to DJ Moore, the contract just made it almost impossible to keep him with the young talent they acquired. And somebody like Kmet, he's only going to be 28 years old next year. He's durable. He's missed one game his entire NFL career. He's going to be looking for another chance to maybe not get a splash payday, but definitely make some money instead of starting to lower his cap significantly to stay with the Bears. Now, maybe that happens, but yeah, you're right. I think you put it perfectly, Tony. There's a succession plan. Poles has been doing a good job of finding succession plans for a few of these positions, and same with Ben Johnson. I know it's hand in hand. It just feels like, Kmet, you can, see him probably have another impact year, really good blocker, get a few touchdowns, maybe 300 yards, and, say thank you for your service and hope you ball out elsewhere next year.
Isn't it amazing? We actually have an actual football team that actually has real moves that make sense, whether it's the draft moves, whether it's free agency. I find it amazing. We're almost back to the big boy table because the Chicago Bears the last 10, 15 years have not done this. And we now have a real pathway to create a long-term success. Brendan, you mentioned it. There's so many examples right across the board of moves that are being made, even the ones in the draft this year. Even with Roush, as you mentioned, but Logan Jones is another one, or Xavier Thomas, who I'm now calling the new Daz Newsome, by the way. All these different scenarios. Yes, it's happening. We'll just accept the guy's not going to have a career because I've just ruined it, but it's okay. The whole thing for me about this stand-up is that it's the first time I've gone into it going you look at this summer. So our left tackle situation is up for question. We didn't go after anybody at the edge. We didn't go after defensive tackle. We didn't kind of solidify some of our more experienced players who have done so well in the likes of Cup and likes of Kevin Byard. And still I'm going into this season going, I think if we only win 9 or 10 games, it's a disappointment. And that's just the creation of what Ryan Poles has done. Again, I mentioned it, but also the introduction of Ben Johnson. And Brendan, it's the first time we've had you on since Ben Johnson became head coach of Chicago Bears. And for me, it's akin to in Ireland and the UK, there was a famous manager called Sir Alex Ferguson who managed Manchester United for 20 years and became an absolute legend. And there's a lot of kind of similarities between Ben Johnson and him. What's your honest take on Ben Johnson? Not the romantic one. Where does he sit in the NFL and coaching systems right now?
It makes me sad. We haven't talked that long.
No.
I was going to say, it can't be that long, surely.
No, I thought we may have done a show last year, right before a game or something, but we didn't get into just off.
I can't remember. I can't remember what I had for breakfast, so I'm still.
That's okay.
It's getting old now, Brendan. He's forgotten his surname and everything. Sorry.
Oh man, no. My opinion on Ben Johnson, I had the same sort of feeling. Sometimes I try to lower my expectations for when it comes to these coaches or these hot shot players or whatever. It's like, all right, like let's just, he still has to prove it. He's still, just because this person had success here doesn't mean he's going to have it there. But Ben Johnson definitely felt like the most dynamite coaching option I have ever seen in football. Not only like the thing I always talked about and got into with people was Johnson was the guy for like 3 years straight. He jumps on the map. And then how often do you see an offensive coordinator not only remain with his team and turn down head coaching jobs, but then elevate them even to a different level? You don't see that 2 years, even 3 years for sure. But he was able to do that. I mean, think of like somebody like Bobby Slowick. He was going to be the next big thing with the Texans, and he was out of a job a year later. So the fact that he was able to sustain success, despite kind of being the guy and having that target on his back is one thing. And I really appreciated his no-nonsense approach when he came to the Bears to essentially say, we're not where we are yet. I'm not going to sugarcoat that we've had good practices. He is getting on people to, make sure they understand the details. That has got to be jarring for a team that was used to milquetoast Eberflus, who just kind of let things go and was like, all right, guys, we got a good practice, right? And we're going to execute, do our thing, and remember hits. And it just kind of like lead from the back of the room like that versus somebody like Johnson who's going to get on the field and tell you what's what and really throw as much at you and basically be like, I'm not here to be your friend. I'm not giving you a dumb nickname here. We're here to win football games. It's going to be hard. And, you're going to show that you're worth your medal. So I couldn't be more impressed with Johnson. I know he's not perfect. There's a few things like in-game adjustments you'd still like to see him make a little bit, particularly in the first quarter with some of those adjustments. You would think that somebody with his offense could be a little bit more well-prepared to come out of the gates firing, and kind of late in the season, you didn't really get that as much. But still, like the last thing I'll say real quickly is I have no concerns over somebody like him kind of like holding on to last year and their success and essentially saying everything is going to be fine going into 2026. He told us all that he starts from a blank slate. There was no boom goes the dynamite moment that the team has to try and work back from. He understands that this is a year-by-year league, and you have to put in the effort and just not say, well, if we just fix A, B, and C and keep everything else the same, we're going to be just fine. So couldn't be more pleased with how his tenure has started. And I tweeted during the season, I truly believe he will lead the Bears to a Super Bowl victory in the next 5 years. 100%.
Yeah, I could totally. I mean, I don't think that's an unbelievable thought, to be honest with you. For anybody, even non-Bears fans, they just have to look at the transition from in that first year, going from Eberflus to Ben Johnson. It was astronomical difference. Obviously a big part of that was not just him being there. They brought in some good players. Caleb took a step up, all that kind of stuff. All the pieces fell together. But I think realistically, you're probably looking at teams that are kind of building from next to nothing and going, it's probably going to take you something around the likes of 3 seasons to get to the sort of big show or whatever, So the hope is obviously that they continue that upward trajectory. But, at the end of the day, as you say, a great rookie head coach, rookie season for the head coach. And you're hoping that they can sort of build on that. As I mentioned, part of the success was who they added last offseason. We've kind of touched briefly on this offseason as well. Obviously, still a long way to go. We've still got training camp to go. We've still got preseason to go. We're not going to be stepping onto the field for another 3 months. So in that time, there's a lot that can happen, particularly with the structure of the team and the personnel that they have here. And that was one of the main questions that we wanted to talk about today, was in terms of what have the Bears done and what do they still need to do. I know we've sort of talked about offense, so we'll come back to the offense and we'll talk about the defense to start with. So Brendan, obviously there are obvious areas that we want to talk about. I think on the defense, there's definitely more than 1 or 2 areas where I have concerns still. So I'll throw over to you if you want to give me a sort of position group where you feel that, the defense is still a little bit concerned.
Yeah,
And then I'll come back to the offense and we'll talk about the defense to start with. So Brendan, on the defense, there's definitely more than 1 or 2 areas where I have concerns still. So I'll throw over to you if you want to give me a sort of position group where you feel that you still have some trepidation there, and you think that maybe we could do with bringing in another body somewhere, somehow. Where would you say would the first sort of place you would look at?
I think the obvious starting place is defensive line. And I don't think a lot of people would disagree. The Bears did next to nothing to improve that outside of signing Neville Gallimore as a depth option and Contavious Street. It's funny. Everybody sort of pinpoints the draft and says, all right, this is where the Bears get that defensive tackle or defensive end. And it feels like we've been doing that now for the last 3-4 years. And the draft ends and you're like, where's the defensive ends and defensive tackles? they were all there. It just feels like that they're content with the additions they made last year and building on the holdovers that they've had. The biggest question mark is actually, I don't know. I kind of want to know what you guys think. Is the biggest question mark defensive tackle with Grady Jarrett, who's older, who had battled injuries last year, Javon Dexter, who, is fine. He's a fine player, but he still has not shown that he can be that difference-making defensive tackle, and with the guys behind him, or defensive end with Dio Dangbo coming back. Is Austin Booker enough? Like, both of those, you see flashes, but I'm just curious which one gives you more heartburn from that position group.
D-tackle all day long. Because for me, we will find pressure to get at the quarterback from loads of different areas because we've improved our speed. So I think you'll find us blitzing from everywhere. And I think that's why the annoyance with Kyler Gordon's injury, I mentioned it last week, that Kyler Gordon's injury, I think the frustration is coming from the fact that they need him to do a lot of things that can make up for the lack of defensive ends. My biggest worry is defensive tackle. I think so much on Grady Jarrett, you mentioned, has to be better because I don't necessarily rate Gervon Dexter. I think we could get run on a little bit with them two in there, and I would have probably spent a little bit more money and pushed the boat a little bit more on D tackle. But it's interesting you said about the draft. I think every single time the Bears went to do that, they missed out by like 1 or 2 draft picks. I think they never really felt comfortable on anybody at that range. I think everyone said about Gabe Yakus. I think if Yakus had been there, I think he went to the Patriots a couple of spots before he came to us. But I think that may have been the move. But my worry, I don't know about you, Tony, but my worry is D tackle. I could see us going and making a bigger deal. In saying that, I actually think Neville Gallimore might be our Andrew Billings. I think he's a different type of player, but I think he could be as impactful as Billings was in year 1 and 2. I think he's a better player than people realize. But D tackle is the one that keeps me awake at night. Or my little hair on my head that I do have doesn't grow.
It's definitely there. So defensive tackle for me is definitely a concern. There's no doubt about that. In terms of the guys that they added, so we look at guys like Gallimore, 29 years old, definitely a depth piece there. Only started 8 games last year in Indy. You've got Street, 29, again, 7 games last year. These are guys that are not regular contributors. What that tells me is that Ryan Poles still has a lot of faith in the guys that he brought in last offseason and a lot of hope. Yeah, probably hope over faith is probably the best phrase there. Obviously, we talk about Grady Jarrett, who was carrying an injury at points last season. You're hoping that he can sort of do something to return to the form he had when he was in Atlanta, although he's now pushing into his mid-30s now, but you're hoping for like one really good kind of last season, or because realistically you think maybe after this season is that it for Jarrett, certainly with the Bears anyway, I think probably would be. So you're hoping he has that really good year. You're hoping that Shamar Turner, who obviously didn't really play any part last season, lives up to the draft status that he had as well. And then you're looking at guys like Gervon Dexter, again, a Ryan Poles guy, who I loved coming out of college and I thought was an excellent pick at the time. But there has been definitely a sort of a step back there, and certainly last season at times. Can he, come back and be that player that we've seen flashes of initially? So lots of big questions there. And it's the same, and I'll move on to another sort of position in the defensive line in terms of the pass rush. It's the same with Dio as well. Like you're hoping that he lives up to that contract and starts making that contribution as well. Does Austin Booker eventually step up and come out of that gap? Because this is the thing, we've talked about Austin Booker on the show a couple of times over the last few months, and in terms of can he actually step up and be that guy full time all of the time across from Montez Sweat. There's been flashes there, no doubt about it. I mean, 5 sacks last year, something like that. You know, not he's not playing the full season. He only had 10 games, so you're hoping if he plays a full season, does he get double-digit sacks? Montez Sweat sort of starting to come out of his shell as well. The interesting thing about Montez Sweat is when he appeared in that top 100 list last week, and all of a sudden everyone was coming out of the woodwork like, oh yeah, I've known Montez Sweat's always been a great player, and I'm not surprised that he's in the top 100 when actually everybody was genuinely a bit shocked that he was there based off of the whole time he's been in Chicago. But yeah, I think there's a lot of hope in the guys they brought in last year do it, and they only have to rely on the guys they brought in this year as solid depth. If you're then looking at the guys not doing it again this year, and you're relying on Contavious Street and guys like that, for me, that's not a good situation, and I think that could come back to bite you when it comes go time. So that's where I'm at with that. Any other thoughts on that, guys?
I would say with that, it kind of goes back to my first point about like the takeaways. Like the Bears just weren't willing to, double down and essentially eat a bunch of money to try and rectify that those mistakes, or even just redo contracts and push money out so they could, bring in more players and more options. I do think that, when it comes to Montez Sweat, I've said that I think there's like a huge divide when it comes to how the fans think of Sweat and how the coaches and front office think of him. Ben Johnson's been on record saying, like, I thought last year was the best year of his career with what he did both in the run and pass game. Ryan Poles has said the same thing. He loves how he works. He loves what he brings to the table. So clearly he's doing something that is impacting the coaching staff. And then I also think just like, what does this team look like if they had their entire complements of defensive ends on the other side for the entire year? I don't know if you guys realize this, but Austin Booker and Dayo Odeyingbo appeared in just half a game together because Austin Booker comes back against the Bengals and then Dayo Odeyingbo gets hurt. And also, by the way, Shamar Turner got hurt the week before. So you didn't have a chance to kind of build the defensive line you want. Grady Jarrett missing the first half as well, like that. He was playing better as the year went on. So they started to find something a little bit. It just feels like that they do have the belief in that the players that they brought in last year, as well as the people they have, from the draft and the holdovers, like I said, can make an impact. But it just also tells me like, we feel like these guys can do good enough and we're going to give ourselves another shot to maybe really go all in for next year once some of these contracts come off the books. So
yeah, I think it's amazing because there's so much money we've actually pumped into that D-line, and capital that's gone in there with some very high draft picks. You mentioned Shamar Turner. I saw a picture of him on X or Twitter, wherever it's called, recently, and he's still got the knee not a knee brace, but he's still got a knee support on. And you see she moves like that. So we have put money in there. We just haven't seen the hit. And I think there might have been a bit of a fear around, like a Dexter Lawrence or something like that. I still think that the big move might still come. I think we'll see a training camp what that looks like. But I think if we are going to see a big move for the Bears, it's going to be in one of those two spots.
Yeah, I would agree with that as well. And just before we go any further, I understand that you've received your Tally brand hat in the post at long last.
Stay where you are. I was meant to put it on my head. 2 seconds. I'll be back.
I don't have mine up here with me. Mine's downstairs. Darn it.
And you're meant to have this stuff organized for the show. I mean, you just can't get professionalism, Brendan, nowadays, can you? Unless you can save us.
I do have from our guy Rob. I haven't put these up yet. But we got our stickers. I got
them too.
There we go. Love it.
Well, while Ant's away looking for his hat, what I'll just say is that we're obviously proud to be partnered with Tally Brand. Really, really cracking stuff. Here comes Ant modeling one of their fantastic hats right now. He looks fantastic. He looks so much better with one of those hats.
Correct.
So there you go. So definitely jump on to tallybrand.com. Loads of cracking stuff on there. Really, really nice things. I don't know about you guys. Sometimes I think a lot of the bear stuff that you see is a bit kind of samey. This stuff's a little bit different in terms of the hoodies and stuff like that they've got. So definitely check them out. And also, if you go on there, if you use the Telebrand discount code abroad, you will get free shipping. And you'll also get some of these magnificent stickers as well that Brendan was just showing you there. I got these through the post the other day from Rob. So, Rob, thanks very much for these. They're absolutely fantastic. I've given my kids a bunch of them. Not these ones, obviously, because then I need to explain the acronym. But yes, they got the Chicago one, the Chi-Town one. They've stuck them to their school stuff, so they're having a great laugh. But yeah, use the discount code abroad for free shipping and free stickers as well. Sticking on the defensive side of the ball, guys, I wanted to just quickly mention another area where I think there may be a wee bit of a concern there as well, and that's at the cornerback position. Obviously, we've got Kyler Gordon, who has some sort of injury going on. We don't know exactly what it is. We don't know how big of an impact it's going to have on his season, if he's going to miss time, if it's going to be a recurring issue. I think that in itself is a huge problem. The question I have in terms of the cornerback position is, did we actually get better there? Did we stay the same, or did we get worse? We've obviously lost a couple of guys that were contributing there in the off-season, added Malik Muhammad in the 4th round. But if we're thinking that Kyler Gordon's going to be injured again, are we concerned about the cornerback position?
I'm concerned. No, I'm concerned for sure. The biggest thing about the Kyler Gordon situation is not only was he hurt last year multiple times. I mean, you're talking about like 3 to 4 different soft tissue injuries, but like now's the time where you do put in all the work, and you do put in the work to figure out how your body needs to get better. It's not just about like, I'm good enough to play or not. Like if he's injured, he's injured. That's one thing. But if you kind of read between the lines of Ben Johnson talking about Kyler Gordon, one, you could tell he was pissed. He was pissed that he wasn't out there. But I think he's more pissed, and this is just me reading between the lines, that he's not putting enough work in to get back onto the field and to put himself in that position where he can play like 17 games in a season. And for somebody who, like, Johnson was raving about Kyler Gordon when he got here. Same with Dennis Allen. Both of those guys were very excited about what he could bring to the table. And when you can't get on the field and you're not taking the necessary steps to do so, that's a problem. So, yes, I have concerns there at nickel. We'll see what they do there if Kyler is going to get pushed or something. I mean, maybe Malik Muhammad, instead of doing outside, maybe Malik Muhammad is brought in to play a little nickel. Who knows? Tyreek, I think he is who he is at this point. He has good stretches, bad stretches. He's an average cornerback, I will say. You can get away with that, especially if Jalen Johnson is back to his elite ways on the other side, which he seems to be doing a lot better, which is great. And then just some of the other additions, Cam Lewis, Terrell Smith is coming back. Jalen Jones is still around. So I think to answer your question, Tony, like they probably stayed the same with losing guys like Deshaun Wright and CJ Gardner-Johnson, but knowing that Jalen Johnson's coming back and getting Malik Muhammad, those kind of offset that. And I'm just very interested to see when training camp rolls around, is Kyler Gordon going to be participating? And if so, how long will he be participating before he inevitably gets, sidelined for one reason or another?
Yeah, that's why it's his last year. Exactly how Brendan just explained it there. I cannot see. It feels very much like the Brisker scenario last year, where everyone knew really it was Brisker's last year, no matter how he played, because of the concussions. And I think you're going to find the same with Kyler Gordon. I think the frustration is beyond belief. I know Ben has mentioned on a lot of things. He doesn't know him. He doesn't know Kyler Gordon. because Kyler Gordon has been fit in his time there and comes back, gets another injury, and it's a different type of injury. And you compare that to some of the other players that are there. And I think it was on Hogan Johns, I think I heard it. They were talking about the fact that Kyler, the frustration is what have you been doing to get ready? And soft tissue injuries usually are caused by there's something not right, whether it's in your body itself or whether it's in your preparations, etc. So yeah, he needs to get on the field for himself going forward. You saw what happened to Brisker. Brisker, everyone thought Brisker was going to get a big, massive deal, gets a 1 year deal at Pittsburgh on not a lot of money, as much as you had thought for safety. And I think the same with Kyler. The sad thing is he is, when fit, arguably a top 3 defensive player because he can do so much from that nickel position, and he adds so much speed and dynamism, and he's great in coverage and etc. Now he got picked on a little bit by Green Bay in that playoff game, but I really need him back. Jalen Johnson coming back and performing really well in rookie, or not rookie minicamp, in minicamp, just shows the importance he's going to bring, and I think that's why we've got better. A fully fit Jalen Johnson. Opposite him is going to be like this time last year we didn't know who Nahshon Wright was. I wonder who we're going to know this year. I think that's going to be an interesting one. There's bound to be one that's not been talked about at all, and suddenly ends up being a starter. Injuries is one thing, but also just ability-wise and the coaching tickets that we have and the likes of Al Harris, etc. They're gonna bring somebody on. I really like Malik Muhammad. If he puts on a bit more weight, I think he's going to be a really good pick. Love his attitude, love his thought process, and any interviews he's done. And I just think in our safety position, we've got so much faster, which will also then help our cornerbacks in moving on. And the likes of Teenham and Kobe Bryant is just, it's just that dynamism and speed. So I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think the biggest thing across the team, but particularly on defense, is just that injection of speed that they added this offseason. So it'll be really interesting to see how that impacts everything else in terms of the system and the scheme. Getting to the players that extra second or half second quicker. We'll see how that plays out. Flipping it over onto the kind of the offensive side of the ball, and I sat and thought about this myself, and maybe I'm just being overly optimistic, but in terms of the offense, I feel pretty good about it, generally speaking, in terms of the way that it's set up. I mean, I think obviously the big changes there come across the offensive line. That's probably where you would start with any of these sort of conversations. So, and Brendan, I'll come to you on this one because we had a question from Dean earlier on in terms of what grade would you give the offensive line at this point? You mentioned defensive there as well, but as we're talking about the offense, I mean, if you look at the guys that we've got there who are coming back this year, and the guys that we've brought in to replace either injuries or retirement, what are your kind of general thoughts on that position group?
It's a good question. I would probably say, ending last year, 4 out of the 5 guys were studs. And even the 5th guy, Izzy Trapillo, had showed a lot of promise before he got hurt. I could say you could comfortably say that was an A group. This group right now, you have 3 of the 5 returning. The 4th, Braxton Jones, has familiarity. He at least, knows what he's doing against Joe Thuney. He's healthy. And then there's a question mark with Bradbury or Jones. For what it's worth, I think Bradbury is going to start for the majority of the season. I think they like the veteran, presence there. So I'm hovering between a B plus and a B. I'll go B plus for the optimistic side because you do have an All-Pro in Joe Thuney, Darnell Wright, second team All-Pro. Jonah Jackson, probably the most underrated player on that team with what he brings at right guard as long as he stays healthy. And then, like I said, Braxton Jones being healthy, I think he is going to be the starter over Jedrick Wills and Karan Amgaji and, Theo Benedette, whoever. Just the fact that he is able to get a full healthy offseason and not compensate one way or another for his return injury. And then Bradbury, he's similar to Dahlman in the sense that they both have, the same sort of strengths. Bradbury was fine with the Patriots. I know a lot of people like to complain about the line and what happened in the Super Bowl. Bradbury was not a problem there. And if anything, he was covering up some holes to, I believe, is the right of him. I can't remember the guard's name, the one who was moving over, but he's somebody who knows what he's doing. Like I said, Johnson loves the veteran presence there. I'll give him like a hovering between a B plus and a B, and then the defensive line, I'll say C. It's an average line. You have some borderline Pro Bowl talent with Montez Sweat. But then right now you just got a bunch of guys like we just talked about. We don't need to belabor it anymore, but that just feels like an average to slightly above average defensive line as it stands right now.
Yeah, I think for me the standout question is the left tackle. But what I'm really excited about is the coaching that we've got. I have full confidence in the game plan that's going to be created to make that offensive line a very, very good one. And I think we're going to find that again. Joe Tooney is a Hall of Famer, absolute one of the best offensive linemen we've had in a long, long time. And Darnell Wright, we developed our own, which is simply unheard of in Chicago Bears land. And we developed our own right tackle. The idea of people saying, "Oh, we'll move him to left," don't touch him. Leave him right where he is. Thank you very much. Do not move that guy. Get him his big contract. Get him his 4 or 5 year deal, and let's just have that solidified for the next 5 years. Don't get cute on that. And then I think after that, there's people who stepped in. People forget McFadden was so good in the playoff game. Probably got himself a contract out of it. Theo Benedette for an undrafted free agent did really, 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 really well for an undrafted free agent who can work as a swing tackle on left or right side. And then we don't know what Kieran Amagaji is. We don't know what Jedrick Wills is. I think Wills is actually going to be an interesting one to watch in camp because he has all the tools there. And Braxton Jones is Braxton Jones. So we don't know. I think our run game is going to be very good. We just need to give Caleb a few more seconds. And that's all that kid needs.
A question from I am just here 34 and love the turtleneck. Are you trying to hide a hickey?
No, I'm trying to hide sunburn because unbelievably in Gothenburg for the last 3 days, and I've been on a boat. Before you say it, I'm not rich. We're not like in a scenario where this podcast has gone out different. I was on a boat because I was very lucky. My girlfriend's one of our best friends brought us on this amazing trip around Gothenburg in a boat, in this like cool boat that I was there. So I'm hiding the sunburn, and also I'm in Sweden, so they love turtlenecks. So thanks for noticing, though. Someone noticed. It's quite impressive.
I love it. The milk tray, man. You should change your to the milk tray. I think you suit it for definite. I won't
be jumping in no windows. I won't be jumping in no windows. That's another thing. The milk tray adverts. I don't know, Brendan, if you had them in America. The milk tray adverts are the worst adverts of all time. Basically, a guy pretending to be James Bond, jumping in women's windows, and delivering a box of milk tray. I know every woman I know. If someone jumped in the window at whatever time he was dressed like that, they wouldn't be happy bunnies. So I don't know whether that's a good thing to be connected to milk.
You guys have milkmen like ads, like just people who deliver milk still.
Oh no! So milk tray is like chocolate. It's like a box of chocolates. It's called Cadbury.
Oh, okay.
Milk tray. It's called.
Should have said that.
Got it.
So yes, just to clarify, this is not a milkman. Wearing a turtleneck.
Could be though.
Well, yeah, because the milkman could look like that,
That's hilarious.
Different type of milkman in Ireland in Scotland. No, milk tray, the dairy milk. Their company's name is Dairy Milk. But I love it. I love it, Lee. Yes, and jumping in ladies' windows. How to get arrested last time? No, let's clarify that. I was never arrested. We're not getting that down that road. That's get me in a legal trouble.
Oh, dude. Yeah, but anyway, back to the Bears. Left tackle for me, I think, is a big win. I think you're right, Brendan. It's going to be Braxton Jones's job to lose. They've invested far too much money for it to be anything other than that. I think Wills comes in as an option to play back to be the backup, and that'll be it. To be honest. And I think the long game is, get Ozzy Trapilo back again and see where it goes. But as I said last week as well, like this is the opportunity that Braxton Jones has got now. I always thought Braxton Jones had the tools to be a good left tackle, and it just never developed after that first couple of years. We're now at that point where, listen, you've got a huge opportunity here. Take it. Don't let Ozzy Trapilo have it back. Like that's as Bears fans, we want that to be the situation because you want your best player in there. So hopefully it works out. But again, as a guy who believes in building a football team from the inside out, it's maybe bad news when we're looking at it and going, oh well, we're giving the defensive line a C and we're giving the offensive line a B. With the offensive line, it's certainly more optimistic given the success we had last season. I think you're just hoping that the Dolman to Bradbury thing is a smooth transition. And then the long game as you get Logan Jones in there, and that's your center quarterback partnership sorted for the next decade, sort of thing. So, but listen, we'll wait and see what happens. For you guys, any other sort of area that the offense that you feel like the Bears could maybe add to? Not necessarily that there's any huge glaring problem there, or we're concerned, but would you like to see them add anything else there? Or is anybody out there that you've had a thought and going, oh, that guy's still a free agent? And even if that's on the defensive side of the ball, because we're talking about guys out there, the pass rushers that are still available. A lot of money on 1-year contracts, probably unrealistic. But is there anybody for you guys that you think right now that I would take a flyer on something like that?
I mean, the name that I've been not pounding the table for, but it'd be fun to have Jadeveon Clowney because he produces everywhere he goes. He's a decent player still. You're not asking much out of him. He can play that Yannick Ngakoue role from a few years ago, and hopefully with more production at least. But come in, sack the quarterback, play behind, or rotate in with Dio and Austin Booker. I did think about this. I was thinking about this initially, and I heard it on ESPN 1000, I believe, last week. It won't happen for a number of reasons, but it would be kind of fun to bring in Keenan Allen as just sort of that, like, hey, you're going to be a third down specialist. We are not asking much out of you. You're not going to stretch the field, but you still get the job done when you need to and provide like 500 yards. Clearly has a connection with Caleb. Again, it is not going to happen. I would be floored and shocked if it did, but maybe I'm just also kind of like thinking about how things ended in 2024 and be like, oh, Keenan, things could have been so much better for you. Come on. The Bears are winning again. Let's just see how, let's see how you integrate into this Ben Johnson offense. But that's more of just a pipe dream.
Yeah.
I love that Keenan Allen thing. I love that idea. I think that would be really fun. For me, the one that stands out is Tyler Decker, left tackle. Mm-hmm. I know they're going to go most likely with Braxton Jones and Willis, but if there's a question mark, Decker's still there. And I know he didn't go to the Lions because he wanted 19-20 million. He's not going to get that. So if he wants to play football, he may want to come and kind of turn it back in Detroit's faces. I think that could be one that might be interesting closer to it. I'm with you on Clowney as well. I think that's a very interesting one. It's probably more than Bosa for me. I think Clowney just seems to be that sack merchant that you want. And I think you're going to find someone of that ilk will be in Chicago Bears uniform before the season, before week 1, I would guess. I saw there was a question in there for Brendan. Where is it? Yes, here we go.
Yeah.
I found it. Found it. Brendan, have you heard anything in capital for some reason? This is screaming at you. On if the Bears are still aggressive into extending Nishan Wright, Darnell Wright.
I haven't heard anything outside of what's been out there publicly. I know Courtney Cronin and a few other reporters have said, like, I think this is coming relatively soon. And when they put those tea leaves out, I think people have to listen and watch, because we saw the same thing with Kyler Gordon and TJ Edwards last year. And I remember thinking, oh, wow, TJ Edwards, that's a little surprising, don't you think? Like, still has a year left. He didn't have the greatest season, even though I was a big fan of the signing. And then sure enough, he gets extended like a month later. So, no, I have not heard anything. I fully expect a deal to get done at some point. I would say before training camp, or like right at the beginning of training camp. They value him a lot. I know last year was sort of we like you, but you need to show us that you can kind of take that next step and be like, really top of the line right tackle, because I think there were some question marks there with just sort of like not the same thing as Kyler Gordon, but more like can we actually count on you to be that mean, dependable, like mauling right tackle? Or are you just kind of a guy, because he was playing well, and he answered all of those questions. I know the coaches really like him. So I expect it to get done. Haven't heard anything outside what's been reported, though.
Yeah, I think he's one of those guys. It's just like it's a no brainer. I think it'll likely happen. Personally, I don't know anything, obviously, but I just think it's one of those things that will happen before the season starts. I think they'll figure out a way to get him there, get him on the book for another 4 years at least. But yeah, I think he's an excellent player, absolutely fantastic. We need more guys like that on the team. That's the way to move forward. Listen, there's a lot of guys and girls, everybody watching tonight as well. Maybe some folk that haven't watched this before, so welcome in. Great to have you here. Please jump in into the chat, get some comments and questions in there. We'll be on for another kind of 10, 15 minutes thereabouts. If you can like and subscribe to the show, that'd be fantastic. Follow us on X as well at Bear Down Abroad. That would be fantastic. Brendan, we've actually got another quick question from I am just here 34. Loving the questions, mate. Thanks. Welcome in. I think this might be the first time I've had you on as well, so good to see you. And question has been sitting on my brain. Say Caleb balls out again this year. Zachary goes up. He hits 4,000 yards. Has a great year. Should the Bears extend him before he starts year 4? And I would add on the end to that as say, or would you keep him on his rookie deal for that additional year?
No, I think you extend him. And that's already been talked about. Like the crazy thing, guys, is I'm seeing articles about extending Caleb Williams a year before he's even eligible, and how like Ryan Poles is already thinking about what he has to do and putting the chips forward to make sure that happens. If Caleb Williams has another year where like we can say statistically, okay, he breaks 4,000 yards, he has like 29, 30 TDs, 10 interceptions, what have you. He puts together 2 excellent years, stays healthy, knock on wood, and most importantly, leads them to another playoff spot. Like there's no question. He would have to have a situation like CJ Stroud where he starts to regress and the defense picks him up for them to have any sort of questions on extending him. I definitely think, bearing a surprise, Caleb is getting extended next year. One, it eliminates any distraction, because I could definitely see, I don't think Caleb's going to make it a distraction, but like, with how business oriented he is, he would really, I think he wants to see or know that like the team's committing to him and, everything he's putting into it. There's no uncertainty there. There's no drama like Lamar Jackson or some other quarterbacks in the past. So I fully expect him, unless something goes crazy haywire, he's going to be extended at some point next offseason.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And I think the quicker we get it done, the better. Honestly, because
price is only going up, man.
As you said, Brandon, like not just the money. Caleb's a smart cookie. Doesn't have an agent. Does it all himself. It won't be a distraction to the kid. He's mentally so unbelievably tough and so unbelievably strong. I think the question comes down to that his value versus the Bears' value. He wants to be the highest paid quarterback in the league, and that's where he sees himself going. And I think he will get a massive contract. The earlier you get that done, the better. I don't know what other QBs are coming to the end of their deals. I think Drake May definitely obviously would be as well up in New England, but then any of the other ones, because that could decide a lot of things. Because if suddenly one team goes bonkers and gives a ginormous deal to a Baker Mayfield or a Jared Goff gets redone, that becomes more difficult for Chicago. So I think we need to get this drilled down quickly. And it's great. It's a great problem to have. But then at the same time, you have other problems like that with Roma Dunze versus Luther Burden's contract, Colson Loveland's contract going to come up soon after that. So pretty soon, Chicago will find themselves in the place that Detroit is currently in, which is where they're paying a lot of their players, which is what you want. But it's going to be, I'd be getting Caleb's contract. I'd be starting that conversation. I don't know if you legally can, but I'd be starting that conversation pretty soon into the season. to say,
And
you know what?
No, I was just gonna. You said something that I really want to touch on quickly. You made a great point. There are a ton of quarterbacks coming up next year that are eligible for deals. Bo Nix, Jaden Daniels, Drake May. Yeah, you have some free agents as well, or some veterans. But then if CJ Stroud doesn't get paid this year, he's fully up next year. And if the earlier you get ahead of that, then you can set the market and make somebody else beat it. And now, like we went through this in 2020 with Herbert, Tua, I think Trevor Lawrence, like all those guys kind of got extended at the time, Joe Burrow. And it was kind of like, okay, who's going to beat who and who's going to, make that next domino. Caleb will be the highest paid quarterback at some point next season. It is a guarantee. But if you can do it early and then the Broncos have to pay Bo Nix more and that's their problem to figure out, all that is so much better. So I'm really glad you said that.
It's mad though when you get someone resetting the market like that, especially say Caleb Williams then resets the market, huge contract, multi-year, probably 5, 6, maybe even longer than that. It just depends. But and then you then have to pay another team has to pay another quarterback who's worse than Caleb Williams, potentially more money. Like it's just a bizarre scenario where you just have to keep giving better and better contracts for sometimes not fantastic players, So it's a bizarre one for definite. But do you remember years ago when the Bears re-signed Jay Cutler to a mad 7-year deal, and it was at the time it was an astronomical amount of money. I can't remember the figures, but I think it could be something like that. But with the inflation now in 2026, 27, I think it's going to be a huge deal. And for me, based off of what we've seen so far, it's the absolute correct move to make. So, be really interested to see what happens. Guys, we'll just got a few more minutes left. If anybody's got anything else they wanted to stick in the chat, then pop it in there and we will have a look at it. But before we look at those questions, if any more come up, one thing that we usually do in the off season, because obviously there's not a huge amount of things to talk about, generally speaking, we try to fill it with some other interesting things that we've seen, maybe in the news or whatever. So, Anne, I'll come to you. Have you spotted anything interesting, funny, sad, witty, whatever that's caught your eye in the last week or so?
Oh, I did, and it made me absolutely wet myself. So everyone knows Brendan and it's actually the great against Chicago that they don't have one, but the World Cup football tournament, the FIFA World Cup's been on, and Tony's Scottish fans who literally took over Boston last week absolutely went mental there, drank the place dry, insane videos. There's so much social media on it. The Americans, you did not know what was coming with when you send over 7,000 Scottish people, and they picked a perfect city for them to go to. But one of the stories I loved about it was Scotland played one of their games, and they left Boston, and there was a bar called the Dubliner, and they literally lived there, absolutely went mental there. The whole place turned into little mini Scotland. All the girls are going down there. It was just meant to be insane. They drank the place dry. And Scotland left on, let's say, the Monday, and England were playing the next game in Boston afterwards. So all the English fans turned up to Boston, and the Dubliner decided to close down for the day, basically in solidarity with their Scottish friends, so that none of the English fans could drink in their bar. And they put a post up on the door, a little letter on the door saying, dear people, we've decided to give our staff who work so hard a day off because, look, there's nobody in town anyway, so we thought we'd do it while it's a quiet day, which I think is probably the greatest trolling job I have ever seen by Dubliner, which is obviously an Irish bar, Scotland's connection to it, and then their connection to England. I thought that was absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, no, that was absolutely hilarious when I read it. No offense to our English friends that are watching.
Love you, Dave Porter.
But it's a good laugh. It's a good laugh. So fair play to the guys. No, that was amusing. Funnily enough, a couple of Celtic guys here. Obviously, all of our stories that we find are about the pub. Do you know what I mean? So I don't know, Brendan. You guys have Lidl, the supermarket, or Lidl or whatever you want to call it in the States. Lidl and Aldi's. You have like places like that.
Oh yeah, Aldi. Yeah.
So you've got Aldi. I don't know if you've got Lidl. Lidl is like the. I don't know if this is a true story, right? But apparently there was like two German brothers, and one opened Aldi and the other opened Lidl, and then they competed against each other. I don't know if that's a true story, but anyway, really, really interesting story that I found in the news. I think it was 2 weeks ago. So there is a Lidl supermarket in a place called Dundonald, which is in County Down in Ireland. And what they've done is they've opened a pub in the supermarket of this Lidl, and they've called it the Middle Ale, right? So it's meant to be like the Middle Aisle, Middle Ale. This pub opened a couple of weeks ago, and I just thought it was the most fucking ridiculous thing I have ever seen. The fact that they've opened a Lidl supermarket pub in the supermarket. Do you know what I mean? It's absolutely bizarre. But I was watching some videos on it the first day it opened, and it was a total riot. Absolutely, like, there was guys getting chucked out and all sorts of stuff. I was like, "This is a supermarket. This is a supermarket. It's mad."
Of course, it's Ireland. I'm stunned we don't have a bar in a funeral parlor. Like the little small villages in Ireland. There's more bars and pubs than there is people. It's insane. So
we do have a grocery. We do have a grocery store here, and I can't remember if they might be specific to like the Midwest. It's called Mariano's, and some of them do have bars in there. So like it's so funny. One of my first jobs out of college, I was working in an office, and a few of my coworkers would be like, "Do you want to get a drink at Mariano's?" And I'm like, "A drink at the grocery store? Like we're just gonna like grab a 6-pack and just hang out outside, got a bunch of teenagers or whatever?" They're like, "No, there's a bar in there." And I'm like, "You're kidding." So we went in, and it's like off to the side. They have a piano bar and everything, like just a nice place where you can, hang out, have a beer, have a drink, but then you can take it with you and do your shopping, which is, of course, always, extremely dangerous. So yeah, like that's kind of a thing like that I've seen. I wish it was more common, like what Lidl is doing, but yeah, I've seen it. It's awesome. I love it.
That's mad. That's absolutely mad. I don't think that was a thing elsewhere, but there you go. So there you go. It's not that great a story after all. Thanks, Brendan.
No, it is. It is a great story.
Brilliant.
All right, listen. We're going to head off in a minute, but Brendan, before we do you want to let the guys know what you're up to over the next few weeks in terms of like your Bears material, where they can find you as well, and anything else that you want to throw in there too?
Absolutely. So kind of, it's been a slow month for content, as you know, but we're ramping up going into training camp. Like you said, I just posted my 10 takeaways from the off season. Make sure you go read it at Bears Wire. And then Alyssa Barbieri and I are releasing our yearly annual 30 most important Bears. I believe the first one went out today. So we'll be doing that every day leading up to training camp. And then we'll have a few more features coming up before the guys actually get to Hallis Hall. I may or may not be in Chicago to audition for the lead role of Holiday Touchdown, a Bears love story on Hallmark, hitting cable television this winter. I'm just kidding. I'm not doing that. But that was
Ryan Dangle's got that job. Ryan Dangle's got that job done. So you want to get in there before
he's such a softie. He could get it done. You're right.
He'd be perfect for that.
There's a few drama queens on Bears Twitter that would definitely be able to go into that. I read that, and I seen the wee video that they put up on X with Ben Johnson, and I was like, what am I looking at right now? I had no idea what the fuck was going on. I'm like, what are we talking about? There's going to be a Chicago Bears Christmas movie. Is Ben Johnson in it? What's actually happening right now? I still don't quite understand what it is that we're talking about, to be honest with you. Like, what it is?
I can help you out. No, and I only know this because my wife is a huge fan of the Hallmark movies here. I did. I have watched them. I can name my Mount Rushmore of leading ladies for Hallmark. Okay, and I have my picks for who should be in the Bears movie. But what it is, guys, is essentially Hallmark jumped on the Travis Kelce, Taylor Swift thing a couple years ago and said, "Hey, let's make a holiday movie, like with the Kansas City Chiefs in the background." And essentially, they used like actors and just made it like surrounding the team. So like the first one, and I'm not even ashamed that I know this, but the first one was about like an executive of the Chiefs helping out somebody who was becoming the fan of the year or whatever. And, of course, shocker, they fall in love. But then they have cameos from the different players, like Trent Green was in it, Trey Smith, Andy Reid even was in it. So it was just kind of like in the background. And then they did the same thing with the Bills. And I think that one was involved their like new stadium. So I will, it's not going to be like starring current Bears players or coaches, but they are going to be making cameos. It's going to be filmed in Chicago. I'm sure they're going to make a ton of references, but yeah, it's just like it's a cheesy, like holiday movie that just has the Bears and everything about the Bears in the background. It's hilarious.
You've got to have Caleb Williams standing in the snow going like this, surely. Like that's got to happen. There's got to be some sort of Iceman thing going on. I mean, I could write this. It sounds ridiculous, but I'm going to watch it. It sounds great. Let's do it. Let's do it, man. I'm there.
There you go.
Anything to add to this at all?
No, I was just gonna say, make sure you guys follow me on Twitter at Brendan Sugrue, Sugrue. But yeah, no, it was fantastic talk with you guys. You two are just truly two of the best Bears fans. Doing what you do so far away, like just abroad. I love just how connected you guys are. Hopefully you come back to Chicago soon. We'll all get to hang out because Tony, I know we haven't gotten to meet in person yet, but yeah, just thankful to talk with you guys. Thank you.
Well, on that, I turn a big age next year. So I've said to Tony that we got to get our ass out there for first game of the season next year. So that's my goal, to get over to Chicago for September time. So Brendan, when it is, you're going to introduce Tony to real pizza eating, and we're going to have some good fun. So I can't wait to get back again. Chicago is my favorite city in America, and it's my probably favorite destination. So I cannot wait to get back there. And we can enjoy ourselves. And Brendan, really appreciate this hour has flown by. So I really appreciate your time, man. It's been really brilliant. Make sure you check out all the stuff Brendan does. He works so hard. Every time I go onto his feed, he's got another post up, or he's got another story up, or I see you on TV every so often, or hear about you on TV. I feel proud. I'm like, I know him. It's one of those moments. So I really do proud of you. Best of luck as well with your family life and everything going on, and I hope you get to enjoy the rest of the summer before we head into Bears football week 1. So thanks again, man. Thank you so much for jumping on. I really appreciate it.
And I can't believe that you're 21 again next year.
I know. 21 plus VAT, brother. 21 plus VAT. Before you go, as my 6-year-old says to me, Dad, you're so old, I can't count to you.
I love that.
That's the firm I get.
Get on a t-shirt. Anyway, guys, thanks for tuning in. Brendan, thanks for joining us. Really appreciate it. We'll be back same time next Monday. We've got Nicholas Moriano joining us for a wee chat. Remember, guys, like the show, subscribe, get in the chat. It's great to have some new faces in here. Really good to see you. And until we see you next week, remember, bear down and take care of yourself. Cheers.
Bear down!